Hi there, my name's Jessica and today I'm going to give you a brief Excel tutorial. The first thing that you should know about Excel is that all of the columns have a corresponding letter and all of the rows have a corresponding number. This gives each particular cell a designation consisting of that letter and number combination. You can see that this highlighted cell is A1 as shown in the name box. This cell is E3, this cell down here is H16, and that's important when you want to start talking about data and how to manipulate that data so that Excel can do calculations for you. One of the things that you should know is how do you make cells bigger if you have a lot of columns of data and you still want to print? For example, I've put some data into these three cells. The data in this cell is too big to fit. I want to see this cell too, and also this one. So the great thing about Excel is that you can actually change the size of the cells. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight these cells and then expand them so that I can see the data. Now this cell, all of it fits, this one mostly fits, and this one still too big. So the other thing that you can do is you can also change the height of the cells. And by highlighting multiple cells, multiple rows, just like I highlighted the columns, you can change the height, and it actually shows you what the height will be in terms of millimeters or pixels. So I'm just going to make all of them this size. We can see that still doesn't really work. So Excel has this great feature that's wrap text, and if you click that button, all of that text is going to be displayed in the cell, provided that the height is enough. So now the data in the cell is not too big because we can see that one, and this one, and this one. There's some basic formatting things that you should know about Excel, such as bold, which is here, and italics, which is here, and underline, which is here, very, very similar to Microsoft Word. Borders are also a useful tool, and borders have this little button right here. You can make a bottom border, or you can turn around and you can do all borders, which is all of it, and you can see when you click off of the cell that it has lines everywhere. One of the things that we do when we make a table is we like to make a nice thick bottom border. And so now it has strange borders on the top. So if you don't like any of the borders, you just click on no borders, and then there's none. And if you want to make basically a line to delineate between two sets of data, you can just highlight all of them and it makes a nice bottom border. When you want to talk about orientation of a cell, it's not the cell itself, it's the data that's within the cell. So in this cell, you can choose to align the cell to the left, or I'm sorry, to the top, the data to the middle, or the data to the bottom. And you can also do the left, the middle, and the right, and you can do any combination of those two. So for this instance, I have the data both centered to the left and right. It's centered right in the middle, and also in the middle from the top and bottom. There's also shading, and anytime that you want to do something with more than one cell, you can highlight all of them. So shading is just this fill button, and you can fill it with whatever color you like. I usually use some form of gray because I print in black and white, but again, that's your choice. Data types. So we can have general data, which is any combination of letters, text in general, and numbers, and it can be whatever you'd like, and that is just a general data type. And you can actually see that from this button right here, which is, so I had it in the general format. When you want to talk about dates, today is July 8th, and so right now it's a custom format, but you can go in here and you can change it to the short date, or you can turn around and change it to the long date. And if you see those pound signs, then that means that your cell is not wide enough to actually show what you'd like it to show. So then there's also the numeric formats. So there's a decimal format here, which I can turn around and I can make it just a number format. And then you see that it took out so many of my decimal places. So if you're using significant figures, you want to show the right number, which means you come up to these buttons, which are the increase and decrease decimal buttons. And you just click on it and it will add another decimal place to your numbers for whatever you have. And now it's added one more than I actually had. So it adds the zeros afterwards, which is great for some numbers. So then you can also change it to a scientific number format by again clicking the format button and clicking on this scientific button. So this shows that it is 2.50 times 10 to the 6th power, and it gives me 3 significant figures. And this is nice for when you have lots of zeros and you want to add them in. So for me, that's just a nice button to have, and I like knowing that I can do that. I did say that I was going to talk about cell designations and what they're useful for. So you can see that this cell right here is J18, and then J19, J20, and J21. So what I would like to do is I would like to add all of these numbers together. So instead of manually adding them up with a calculator, I'm going to use a formula. And the first thing that you do is you just do an equal sign, and then I'm going to add J18 plus J19, and then I just click enter, and it gives me the number. It tells me what that is. Another thing that you should know about Excel is that you can manipulate the data by cutting and pasting. So I'm going to actually cut these, which is Control X is the shortcut, or you can also just click the cut button. And then I'm going to move them, say, up here, and then Control V is the paste button, or you can also click the paste button before you've excuse me, before you've actually pasted them with Control V. And you can move that data. And then if I choose to move this cell, it has already changed the designation. So it was J18 and J19, but because I moved that data, it puts it up there and it tells me that I actually want to use K10, which is a nice feature. Another feature that you should know about is that you can also insert additional rows, or you can insert additional columns, which is great for if you have a trial of something and you forget to put in all of your trials, excuse me, then you can add in another column or another row so that you can have all of your information in there. One last thing we should talk about is printing. So unfortunately, it's hard to print. You can see in this print preview that it's missing a ton of information here. So then I go back to the home button and I see these lines. And these lines actually show me where the pages line up. So if I only want to print a little bit of information, if I want to print, say, this much information, then what I do is I go to the page layout button after I've highlighted this, and it's print area, and I can set the print area, and this is the only information that will print. And then I can go home and I can go to the print section, and it does show this, but it doesn't show all of them. So I can change it from portrait to landscape. And then I can go back to my layout page and see, does this show me everything? Yes, it does. And then I can go back to print and I can click the print button. We're just going to go back home here. So this is just a brief overview of the different types of formatting you can use for data and just a general page format. So again, thank you, and I hope this helps.